I was hoping that there would be like, you know what? We understand that 0.4 is the end game league, but we do feel like towers are like kind of a really big problem. Maybe we'll do like a mid league. Here's like a change in the towers.
We realised it might be nice to iterate on some of the more mechanical changes in 031. A major concern for players are the mechanics around towers. In order to fix that, you no longer need towers to use tablets.
Instead of doing rare farming, right, and like killing all the rares, make it a little bit more like PoE1, where you had bosses in every single map, right? But the bosses don't have to be actual bosses. They could just be like kind of like mini bosses, if that makes sense. So the overseer maps, the maps with like the boss icon, will still be, you know, the same. But then every single map, instead of having to like chase the rares, you have bosses in those maps, but they're like mini bosses.
In order to address this, we're now making all maps contain map bosses. To complete the map, just kill the map boss. You no longer need to kill any rares, and you can do as much or as little of the rest of the map as you please. We still want some map bosses to be more challenging and rewarding though. The existing icons that currently indicate that there's a map boss now instead mean that the map boss of the area will be extra challenging.
It feels bad when you run a map without a tower. I think that that's like one of the biggest things that I need to fix. The fact that like I have to run all these garbage ass maps to get to a tower just feels really bad.
We also wanted to improve the base experience of mapping in other ways by making sure that there is at least a guaranteed minimum amount of bonus content in each map. As you generate each map, we will now always add between 1 to 3 extra random features, including Breach, Delirium, Ritual, and Expedition, as well as shrines, strongboxes, essences, wisps, rogue exiles, and summoning circles.
Whoa, hold up guys. I know what you're thinking, and it's not that. I'm not a secret GGG employee who's just streaming and feeding you guys information about what's to come. Because honestly, it might seem that way with everything that I say on stream and it coming true. But all jokes aside, looks like Grinding Gear Games has just announced a huge patch for 0.31, addressing a lot of the issues that players have been talking about for the past basically forever about the endgame. And I'm really happy that these changes are coming in 0.31 as opposed to 0.4, because I know a lot of people are feeling a little bit burned out, especially around the tower system and how endgame works. So I hope that this change is going to be bringing some people back, or maybe just keeping the league alive for just a little bit longer. But let's hop into some of these changes and talk about the changes themselves, what I think is good, but also some considerations that I think we might need to think about going forward. So the first one of these changes they are doing is to alchemy orbs. And I have definitely found this as well. They basically said that alchemy orbs have become less valuable and have been used fewer than before. So what they're going to do is they're going to make it so you can actually use alch orbs to upgrade magic items into rare items with 4 new random modifiers. I think that this is a really good change. I really like it. I'm definitely going to be able to use my alchemy orbs a lot more, because a lot of times when my maps, for example, and that's when I'm mostly using alchemy orbs, when my maps drop and they're magic, I pretty much just slam a regal onto there and then I call it a day, because I can't actually use an alch orb. And whenever I find a normal map, I'll slam an alch orb onto it. But now we can just slam alch orbs on normal maps and rare magic maps, which is really, really nice. And I do appreciate this change. Now, with towers and tablets, this is the big one, and I do think there are some, maybe unwanted things or things that they haven't thought about with these changes. So let's get into it, right? And you guys probably know this, but for the first part, they are going to be making it so that you don't have to use tablets on towers anymore. Instead, you're going to be able to slot in the tablets into the maps themselves. So we can see here in this UI what it looks like, right? So you basically put a map into the slot, and then you can put your tablets down here. And basically what's going to happen is, instead of the tablets just affecting an entire area that the tower was basically covering, you're just gonna be able to put the tablets in here and use them for each individual map. And the tablets themselves have a use limit. So it's like, let's say you can only use these for 10 maps, right? That's kind of how it's gonna work. This is a really nice change and I really appreciate it. But at the same time, I really do hope that we don't have to put these tablets in every single map each time. Like, we finish a map, right? And the tablets go back to your inventory. Then the next map you run, you have to put them back into that. That would be terrible. Hopefully they just stay here until, you are able, or like until it runs out, right? I really hope that that's the case. But this is a really welcome change, a really nice change, because it basically gets rid of all of the 3 tower setup worries that we have at the moment, and we can just run maps. We just go see a map on there and just be like, all right, I want to run that map. Let's do it. I don't have to worry about drops being different or not being as great because there's not double tower setup, triple tower setup. That is absolutely amazing. I love that. But the one thing that you're thinking about is probably like, wait, well, if there's no triple tower setups, then what's going to happen with my juice, right? Is it going to be the case where I'm just going to be getting less drops? Well, luckily, no. They're going to be upgrading the modifiers on the tablets to be at least 2 to 3 times as powerful. So that's going to be really nice. You just don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, there will be tablets, of course, right? They're going to be stronger than others. So that's another area where you're going to have to like basically hope to RNG, or at least you can now buy the better tablets if you're really worried about juicing, right? You don't have to look for the maps, then buy the tablets, which people were doing, right? They were looking for the towers, then they were buying the really good tablets, then they were juicing it, right? Now, if you're just worried about it, you can just buy the tablets outright, buy the best tablets, and then you can go forth with that. That is really, really nice, and I really appreciate that. So that's cool. Next, they're going to add a couple of new modifiers to the maps themselves. Areas contain additional shrine, areas contain additional strongbox, area contains additional essence, rogue exiles as Mary Spirit, summoning circles, and this is another, I guess, summoning circle as well. Yeah, just more fun stuff in the maps, basically. That's going to be nice. More content is always good. Now, the other thing that I'm really excited about is with map size. So they are also saying that there are certain maps that are considerably bigger or take longer to navigate than others, and they're reducing the size of the following maps. Augury, thank goodness, garbage map. Bastille, also not great. Blooming Fields I actually kind of like, but it definitely does take very, very long. Channel, another one that's really good. Epitaph, oh, Fortress. This one is one of my favorite maps, actually. I hope this doesn't make it worse, because I do think Fortress is like in a really, really good place. So we'll see about that. Grimhaven, all right. Hidden Grotto, okay. Oasis, all right. Penitentiary, another one that's bad. Rupture, Savannah. Now, I don't think Savannah is necessarily bad, but one of the issues with Savannah is a lot of times you would start, like you're starting in the middle of the map, right? You can go left, you can go right, and the boss would be on one side of the map, or like there would be rares on one side of the map, and there would be rares on the other side of the map. So you often have to go left, then backtrack all the way to the right to finish the map, which was kind of annoying. So I'm glad that they're changing this as well. Slick was all right, I didn't mind it. Vol City and Wetlands were 2 that I didn't really like. So I'm glad that they're taking a look at some of these garbage maps and changing them, though I wish they would have just said, we're getting rid of Sun Temple, because that one is garbage. Please, Grinding Gear Games, just get rid of that map. Nobody likes it. But yeah, that's really cool. They are also making it so that the Atlas tree is going to be a little bit different, given now that the bosses are going to be in every single map. So there's stuff that they can't necessarily have in the Atlas tree anymore, or things that they need to change, right? So they're going to be making it so that this node right here, Crystal Realm, basically it previously added an additional essence to the areas containing a boss map, now only applies to areas with powerful map bosses, because if every boss map has a boss, then that means every map's going to have an essence, which they can't really have. So they're going to do that and change it. And one thing to mention is just like in general, anything that applies to all map bosses usually will apply to like the powerful map bosses with like the overseer icon on it. So kind of like expected changes. And with the tower changes, they're also going to be basically adjusting anything else that really kind of interacted with the towers on the Atlas as well. But the other big change is that Citadels are going to be more common. Now, I like this change. I don't know if everybody is going to like this change, but I do like it. I think that Citadels are still a little bit too rare if you're trying to farm bosses. Like right now, it's pretty easy to get into like all of the pinnacle bosses, right? Zesht, Oroth, King of the Mist, everything, right? Delirium, they're pretty easy to get into, but Citadels are the one that does remain pretty dang difficult to do. Now, this could be by design. I mean, this is definitely by design, right? And you might say, well, it's Arbiter. It's like the boss of the boss, the big bad. It should be a little bit hard to get to him, right? And I definitely understand that as well. But, you know, I do think it is fun to do these pinnacles more and do these citadels more. So I am a fan of this change. Now, the other thing that's huge, and specifically the most annoying thing, is for chilled ground. They are making it so that they are covering much less of the ground, and at least 66% of the ground effects currently covering the ground will be removed. So this is going to be very nice, and maybe will make chilled ground maps somewhat more bearable to run now. So that is going to be pretty dang amazing and could potentially be the dark horse update of this patch. But on this, they also didn't mention one thing, and they mentioned that in this video, they talk about how the towers now are basically not going to be used for anything else other than for revealing the area around, and they also drop a precursor tablet at the end. Now, that has me a little bit concerned. Now, the reason why I'm concerned is because towers at this point feel a little bit useless, and I don't really feel like, at least in my mind, from what I know, I'm going to want to run towers. First off, tower layouts are garbage, right? We all know that. There are a lot of really bad tower layouts that nobody wants to run. So as a result, you're already disincentivized to run towers. But now, on top of them being bad to run, you also don't really have a reason to run them, because before you only ran them because you had to put tablets in them. But now what the tower does is that it reveals an area, and then it lets you have a free tablet. But if you're still able to get tablets from other places, right? If they don't change the drop rate, which they didn't mention anything about that in the patch notes, then what's the point of running a tower? And when it comes to vision around the tower, why do I really care about seeing things when I can just run whatever maps in front of me? And then also, the important points of interest are usually shown through the fog, right? Corrupted areas, other towers, the citadels, right? All those things, most of the important points of interest are shown through the fog. So at this point, why are we even keeping towers in the game in the first place? I know Grinding Gear Games does like the tower system and they want to keep it, but at this point, what's the difference between keeping it there and not having it there at all? Because in my opinion, the incentive for running a tower just to reveal the area around is just not that high. And this is less of an issue, but what about something like Grand Project? Is that no longer used? Do you have to still put it in the tower, like because there's no tablet slot in the tower? I'm assuming maybe if you put a Grand Project in your tablet slot, like before you run the tower map, like right here, it'll probably still make the tower influence the rest of the area, and you can run and choose which area you want to go to. I guess that might be the fix that they have, but still, again, unless you're putting a Grand Project into a tower, I'm not sure what the point is of running the towers themselves. And I think that while this is a hopefully a band-aid fix, and maybe they'll change it in the future, I do think that they should at this point either A, find some way to incentivize us to run towers a little bit more, or B, just get rid of them completely, because I don't really see a point in running them at the moment. But yeah, that's about it for this update. Really, really big update, really W update. Like, I'm really happy with this, and I'm glad that they brought this in 0.31 as opposed to waiting for 0.4. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Are you happy with this patch? Are you not happy with this patch? Which I would be surprised if anybody says that. And also, as per usual, if you enjoyed this video, please, the best way to support the channel is by hitting the sub button. It's completely free and lets me know you want to see more content like this. And also, I would love if you guys were to join me on my stream, twitch.tv/MesoXshiro. I stream there every single day. And also, I will be participating in the Clutch Core race that Ziz is running. So that is going to be exciting. Come hang out for that day as well. I will also be streaming it. So until then, or until next time, hopefully I see y'all later. Peace out.